Everybody, come on, yeah. Switch your body, come on, yeah. Everybody, switch your body tonight. But then switch back, alright. Then switch back, alright. Cause it's What's Inside, which is a Netflix original written and directed by Greg Jardin, who has done music videos and shorts. Check out his IMDb page for the full list of his work, and stars a bunch of young, pretty people gathering at their friend Ruben's bachelor party, sort of, kind of, not really, the night before his wedding, and then a friend of theirs, Forbes, shows up. Not a Forbes magazine, even though it seems like this guy would own a bunch of magazines in a closet somewhere, likely all crusted together. That's mean. I mean the character, not the person. Don't kill me in the comments. And Forbes has an idea for a particular game. Now, let's just say certain things come to light about this group of friends, couples, and certain strains, and also an event that ties back to years prior. And then they must solve this mystery of the game before their lives are history. It's What's Inside Tales. Woohoo! So yeah, provided anybody's still watching this after that terrible rendition of Backstreet's Back, bet you didn't expect me to talk about that. I love that group. I don't really understand how they managed to get by doing basically the same goddamn music, but nevertheless, it's What's Inside, rather, is something that has received quite a bit of praise on film festival circuits, and I've heard quite a few good things. I've heard, like, it has a really good concept and has some neat little ideas, and I've heard to give it a chance. I did see the trailer, didn't remember really a ton about it, so I kind of went in really not knowing all that much. The trailer admittedly does give a little bit away. I did watch it just before I did this review, but it doesn't give everything away. It gives away the concept, but nevertheless. So we do have a bunch of young, pretty people. We have Brittany O'Grady. Just sounds like it should be somebody owning an Irish pub. She plays Shelby. Not Shelby Horton, Foot. Damn you, Mike. You have James Morosini, who is in I Love My Dad. He plays Cyrus the Virus, but with a V-Y-R-U-S, so we can avoid copyright, but Con Air, I guess. Back off or the bunny gets it. Gavin Leatherwood, which just sounds like the name of a territorial heel in the 70s in the South. I mean, honestly, you could see him being part of what was Mid-South Wrestling in its infancy, or even Leroy McGurk. Now, wrestling out of Austin, Texas, Gavin Leatherwood. So he plays Dennis, and then we have Nina Bloomgarden, who is in The Idea of You. She plays Maya. Great ink, I gotta say that. I mean, I don't know if it was actually, like regular, I don't know if it was like temporary tattoos, but that's actual ink. But nevertheless, good look. You have Alicia Deb Nam Carey, who was in Friend Request, which I hated. I didn't hate her, but Friend Request was really bad. And you have Reina Hardesty, who has a great look. Look, there's these pretty people, and they're gathering at this party, and they're not exactly worth rooting for. We get a little bit of background with Shelby and Cyrus kind of being at a bit of an impasse with their relationship. And Nikki, Alicia, is kind of the selfie girl. She's the one that does all these nice things. And she's just young, pretty, blonde, and yay, like, whatever. She's like that. And then Ruben is just this down-to-earth guy that really is just excited to be marrying, his sweetheart soon. And then Forbes shows up. And then things get a little bit kind of weird because, again, there are aforementioned things tied back to all this. So how is the movie before I dive into spoilers? I'm going to be honest here, and I mean, I'm going to actually save this for the spoiler section, but it reminds me of two particular movies from A24 that did stuff like this better. This is an original concept with a few elements taken from a couple other movies that I sort of like certain things were, okay, like, the idea of what is behind this game. Yeah, it gives you an idea and it gives you a fresh perspective, and how much do you really know about your friends or yourself, and what would you do to basically be yourself once again. It is a little bit odd, it is a little bit strange. It has moments, and there are some times where the satire, hits a little, but there are more times where this movie doesn't seem to know what it wants to be. It throws a preponderance of exposition and everything in the last little bit that ties back to one particular event that's mentioned early on. The movie does tip its hand early, and actually, to be perfectly honest, once you pick up the pieces and pick up the pieces and pick up the pieces and follow the breadcrumbs that lead you maybe 5 feet back to where the obvious reveal was going to happen. It doesn't really take that much to figure out that that's exactly where they were going to go from the beginning. There was really only one direction. Okay, it's not like, oh, wow, I get it. This is so revolutionary. It's like, okay. It also doesn't feature anybody worth rooting for. I mean, even like Shelby, like it just, you might think that she's somebody worth rooting for, but no, there's really not a lot of characters worth rooting for. Maybe that's the point. Maybe you want to see these people with this game learn a goddamn lesson or something. No, nothing's really learned and nothing's really accomplished. It has the idea, it has a little bit of execution, but it just feels like it's lacking stakes and lacking teeth, and there's a nasty teeth. And it just feels like it's not, it doesn't know what it wants to be. It doesn't fully gel. It has something. It just doesn't fully percolate. I'm going to get into spoilers always on Netflix, so check it out if you want. 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. So, here are the movies it reminds me of. It reminds me of Bodies, 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 and Talk to Me. Bodies, 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 in the sense you have a bunch of people gathering that are from rich circles, or at least come from money, except for a couple of them that, kind of like, they're friends, but they kind of fake their way in. Also, there's ties to one particular friends, maybe, being viewed a little bit differently. And then Talk to Me, in the sense that what the game is Forbes arrives and brings this game that involves switching people, like The Hand and Talk to Me. And that's pretty much what it is right there. You can switch into somebody else's body, and you can figure out what it's like to be in someone else's body, and then you switch back after a little bit. No, okay, it's a big revelation. Here's the thing, though, and I'm just going to hold these up again. It's gelling both these movies did the concepts better. You can't have both, and that was my big problem with it. It tries to have both, and it doesn't flesh things out enough. And also, the twist that it reveals at the end kind of just makes me think that's not really that surprising. You can kind of assume that much based on what they're talking about, and the fact that all these characters are pretty much idiots. So, there's a theme between Shelby and Cyrus about Cyrus isn't exactly the best boyfriend to her, and kind of has his own fap material and stuff like that, and watches Nikki's streams and stuff like that, which sounded a lot less dirty in my head. But he does that instead of basically pleasing his girlfriend Shelby. Sorry, if you get a woman like Brittany O'Grady and you get a chance, if you're a young man, you get a woman like that, you get any woman that will do anything for you. You treat them right. Just saying right there. And that goes for women and women, men and men and women, non-binary, don't really care. You treat a person, once you get a right person, you treat them right. Otherwise, you're just going to wonder, what the fuck were you actually thinking, you goddamn idiot? So, the thing that basically ties all this together is there was a party about Forbes, or that involved Forbes. Forbes' sister, Beatrice, basically ended up hooking up with a guy, Dennis, and that didn't end up working because she was in high school at the time, and because Forbes, was older, he brought his sister to a party. She was underage, she drank, he got expelled, he went to California and did some tech stuff. Okay, that's why he has this machine that could involve switching bodies. Just for fun. Now, you think the Forbes might be doing this as a way to play with people and a way to really do some stuff. And you're almost correct. You're almost there. Whoa, ho, ho. It's what's inside body on a prayer. But then everything seems cool. They do switch the bodies. It's a 20-second experiment. I did like the Brady Bunch style switch, stuff. Like the panels with the machine and stuff like that. And I also liked the fact that it didn't, at least until a little bit later when it shows smartphones, you weren't actually sure when this movie was made. There were some fancy cars and everything, but there were, outside of a little bit of, ideas of technology, images of technology, this movie could have easily been back in the 1980s if we were being perfectly honest. And I think actually might have worked even there a little bit better, because then it would have been, well, shit, we don't have computerization as much. We could have, I actually think, to be perfectly honest with the poster, with the look, it might have worked better doing that. Nevertheless, because Nikki's doing a whole bunch of Instagram stuff and it is all about technology, it has all this crazy stuff, we bring it into the modern age. The idea is, well, let's play a game. Take a Polaroid, write your name on it, and if you guess right, you win the round, and the person has to put, whose body it is, whose body they're actually in, and they can't lie. Forbes says, "Don't worry, I can't lie." Spoiler: Forbes has been lying this whole time. The concept is good, but it doesn't gel. Problems are percolating, especially between Cyrus and Shelby, because Shelby didn't want to play it first. Cyrus was like, "Well, I won't do it. I'm not going to force you to do it, but it's kind of like, honey, would you do it? Would you do it? Would you do it for me?" He basically thinks he can get her to do whatever, and he can just still fap to a woman that he wishes he was with, and all this stuff. Instead of, again, looking at Brittany O'Grady. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, you have a woman like that. You treat her right. Just saying. Just saying. So, I just gotta be honest. About halfway through, this thing just lost me. This thing lost me because there was like a bit of horror that actually was like, oh, okay, that's what we're gonna kick in with. It waited longer to do its thing than Bodies did before things really kicked into gear. But this movie also felt stretched out. It felt stretched out and rushed. So everybody decides to do round 2. They do drugs. Cyrus and Shelby come up with a code thing to touch her eyebrows like that. That way they can get back in their own bodies. Kind of like Samurai Jack, I must get back to my own time. So then we get this thing where, people are in different bodies. There's Maya and Ruben that end up falling to their deaths, but they're actually in different bodies. Brooke was Maya, and I believe Ruben was Dennis, I believe, if I remember right. The whole point is now the question is how do you switch back into somebody else's bodies? And the thing is, a lot of this dialogue went by so goddamn quick that you're not actually sure, yeah, what the fuck? They haven't told the cops about this because there's this valuable piece of machinery. And Cyrus gets on there and pretends to be, get on and call 911, and now everybody's all against everybody. Shelby is, I believe Shelby has, decided that she wants to mess with Nikki, and all this crazy shit's going on. Forbes in a different body. I don't mind the fact that they leave something to the imagination with the pictures and stuff like that, but just something about this started to become infuriating because it's like, okay, I'm not really trying to figure out the mystery. I'm annoyed. Can you wrap this up, please? Because it's not funny. I didn't care about the characters before they switched bodies, and now, why am I going to care, now that you're trying to ramp this shit up? I did find it funny when Maya and Ruben fell to their goddamn deaths and got impaled on this, statue thing that was on the goddamn deck or whatever, which it was obvious that's what was going to happen. And then, basically, the idea is Shelby isn't sure she wants to go back and everything, wants to have a fresh start. All this crazy stuff's happening. We have these various people, some people, Forbes got knocked out. Shelby paid attention to figure out how to wire the whole goddamn thing. And then Cyrus and, Forbes' body basically tells, he's talking to Nikki, who's Shelby, by the way. If this isn't getting confusing, then you're better than me. Talking about this, and she says, look, we can switch back and everything. We can figure this out. Or otherwise, if you've always wanted Nikki, we'll try to find a way to make this work. Again, I'm just saying that if you have somebody, you wouldn't want them to be somebody else. You shouldn't be with that person then. So, he kind of lies his way out a little bit. He kind of lies his way. And we then end up getting, the body switching and all that. We get all this crazy stuff happening. And then we have this girl show up. This friggin' out, upset. She's in a black eye. She's got all this shit going on. What the hell happened? Because everybody suddenly has switched around. We don't know what's happening. And This person shows up with a black guy, freaking out, yelling at some person. They cut them off in traffic. A person has a crutch, and she tries to hit the window with the crutch, but Beatrice is okay. I thought they said Janice, but it's actually Beatrice. So Beatrice runs into Forbes and is talking to Forbes. But basically, it turns out that Dennis had basically treated Beatrice badly, promised her a whole bunch of stuff, slept with her multiple times, kind of sent her off the deep end. Not that she wasn't like maybe a little cuckoo, but you don't treat somebody like that just to get what you want. And then we get a preponderance of backstory because it turns out that the sister is actually Forbes. No, really. And Forbes had the sister's, Forbes had his sister's spirit in him. They had switched. Because Forbes wanted to try to reconnect with his sister while she was in an institution. He had the machine, but they ended up switching and then he couldn't figure it out. And so, yeah, it was Forbes' sister. It was Beatrice in Forbes' body. And then Forbes was in Beatrice's body. And who has the goddamn thing now? If that is not, like, who the hell's got this? Oh, it turns out that the sister actually switched into Nikki's body and took off with the machine. Why? Just to get back at everybody else. I guess. Maybe I'm thinking too much into it. Maybe I was just trying to have fun, but the movie just didn't have enough fun to it. I mean, when you take, again, the concepts of these and you end up basically not doing much with them, yeah, you just kind of mess with the fun of it, and it doesn't end up working all that well. It's What's Inside as a good concept, a few decent moments, but just ends up a B-. It gets a B-. It's for the positives, but there aren't a lot of positives. It is what it is. It gets a modest recommendation. Just don't go in expecting too much. Nevertheless, agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Rethlin. I'll see you soon.